Hi Swapna, how are you?
Yeah, hi Rakesh. Doing good. Thank you. How about you?
I'm good too, thank you. So can you tell me something about your automation framework?
Yeah. Um, my automation framework, we use Selenium with Java,
Mm-hmm.
and we use BDD framework and also the page object model design pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So in this uh, we design like every web page we redesign the elements and we use the page factory and we design the respective web methods for the pages and uh, and at the same time we use Maven and uh, we download all the dependencies in form.xml uh, and dependencies support the execution of the entire framework.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and here we have designed certain utilities which are mostly used and repeatedly used throughout the framework. And those utilities are designed in several classes like the base class and the um, uh, base class and some of the utility classes. In the base class, we have defined the WebDriver initialization methods and um, some of the mm, explicit weights and implicit weights. And the other file we have used is the config file where we have used the uh, most repeatedly used like the login credentials and all, where we
Mm-hmm.
define the username, password, and the application URL. And this config file so we are using as a child class. This config file credentials and all, we are using it through the base class actually. There we are following the inheritance concept and inheriting the base class.
Right.
Uh, and and we also design certain classes based on the utilities and taking the screenshots and also for data driven testing we have used the Apache Poi and designed the few classes and methods for a data provider and also we have designed the listener classes whenever we trigger the framework and the events are triggered and we got to know how the events are being performed on the framework and lastly uh, the integrations with we did the integrations with the GitHub repository and the Jenkins
Mm.
where um, all the documentation uh, is intact with the GitHub, where we have uploaded the day-to-day and updated versions of our framework documentation to the GitHub and integrated it with the Jenkins. And from Jenkins, we trigger the automation framework.
Okay. Using Jenkins, you are triggering the automation framework.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So can you tell me about the pipeline? Which are the different stages in the Jenkins pipeline that you are using to trigger the automation framework?
Yeah. Like we configure a pipeline job in the Jenkins where we follow three steps actually, which is build, test, and deploy.
Okay.
In the build, we configure the artifacts that are supposed to be uh, executed through the framework, and in the test level, we execute all the artifacts in using the Selenium tool and all. And in the deploy stage, we deploy uh, the files at a certain point of time.
Okay. So at which stage you will be running the automation test?
Mm, at, at the deploy stage.
At the deploy stage. Okay.
Yeah.
See, let me tell you brief about these things so that you get an idea. Mm, okay. Is my screen visible?
Yeah.
See, as you are telling, there can be three stages. In some companies, they will have four, they'll have five, but the purpose remains the same. The very first stage, what they will do is the machine would be generated, would be created on the fly. So there is a dedicated VM. It can be a cloud VM, it can be on Azure, it can be on AWS, it can be on Rackspace. That VM would be generated on the fly. And in this VM, your code, your automation code, as well as the development code, the test automation code, as well as the development code would get downloaded. And then the build would be generated. When I say build, so the application which is under automation, it would be set up, it would be configured to make it up and running, right? So this is how you have to tell all these things. Okay. And then what happens is your automation test will actually start, the script will start. So when your script will start, then you will have some scripts which will pass, you will have some scripts which will fail. So this entire, all this suite, the entire script will get generated and it would, the report would get generated, right? And it would be sent in an email format. And at the last stage, what would happen? The VM would be terminated. So in some companies, when you say build, so this is build, this is test, this is deploy. So during the test also they are running few of the automated tests. Which automated test they'll run, which automated test, which type of automated test they'll run in this stage? Those are smoke test, right? High level smoke testing needs to be done. Why? Because we are going for the deployment. If the smoke test itself are getting failed, then there is no sense in going for the deployment. It that means the build stay is not stable enough. So if the smoke test itself are getting failed, then it will go again to the build. The developer will see, okay, which of my change request or which of my pull request got the failure or has introduced a defect, what line of code has introduced the defect. So that they will identify and they'll fix it and again they'll build. Then again the test will run. Again the deployment will happen. Once the deployment is happening, the smoke test has run. Now we will go for further testing, right? So there are two kinds of things. Either you can go for interim testing, that is you run the smoke test and then you go for the deployment, or you do a very high level, just the login level of testing in that test mode. And then you go for deployment and then you go for smoke regression and everything, right? So that's how it is been taking place. And if you have to speak about these things, no? So the very important thing that you have to speak during this particular answer is you have to tell it's a CI/CD tool, continuous integration, continuous development. So that is the keyword that you have to speak in your answer, right? So that is important. Okay. Now, do you know about Groovy scripting? Do you know about Groovy scripting? So that is a language which is used in Jenkins. Hmm?
No.
So that's fine. Even if you don't know, that is totally fine. How you will tackle this question? So I'll tell you about that also. So in some companies, they'll ask you, you have this number of years of experience, no? So they'll ask you this kind of question. Do you know about Groovy scripting? So see, it's very simple. This is a pipeline, right? The figure that I was showcasing you, those blocks, those squares, those are a part of pipeline itself. Within pipeline, you will have different stages. Okay, which is your first stage? That is build. Your second stage, that is test. In every stage, you will have certain steps. So in one of the stage, you might have one step, single step. In one of the stage, you might have multiple steps. Let's say you have to do multiple actions in that particular stage. So that's how they can ask you. So it's simple. Even if you don't know the Groovy scripting, just write this code before them. See, pipeline, stage. So first stages, within stages, you will have multiple stages, stage one, stage two. Within stage, you will have steps, right? What you are doing. So steps is at the individual level, what happens in that particular stage. right? So pipeline, stages, and then you have steps. Simple, not the
Yeah.
Java programming or the Python program. This is the Groovy scripting, which is there in the Jenkins. And see, at times what happens is in the companies, when you are troubleshooting, when you are figuring out what went wrong, then you might be editing that pipeline and you might be seeing, okay, what's written here? So this is how the code is written in the backend,
Okay.
right? So this is how you can explain. Fine. This is good. Now let us go to, okay. So which is the version control tool that you are using?
GitHub.
GitHub you are using. Okay. So can you explain how GitHub has been integrated with your test automation framework?
Yeah.
Mhm. Take your time to think. This is a detailed level of answer. Hmm?
Yes. We add a GitHub plugin to the Jenkins actually,
Hmm.
and we set up two parameters or two attributes over here. Uh,
Okay. Shall I tell you about this answer?
yeah, I'm not getting those two values actually.
Okay, okay, no worries, no worries. So see how you have to explain this thing. Let me tell you. So these many boxes are not required. Hmm. So you have a BDD framework and you have a feature to be developed, to be automated. Let's say you are working on a login. Let's not take login. Yeah, let's take payments.
Okay.
So you have an e-commerce website and you are trying to automate a payment feature in that. So this is you. Okay, you are working on this. Similarly, I'm also working on one of the payment feature. Okay, so this is another person. Now what happens is if you have to work on this feature and I also have to work. So what we will do is you will be creating a dedicated branch in which you'll be working on this automation script. So you'll be creating a dedicated branch and that dedicated branch, how you will be creating? By performing a checkout operation on the development branch. So there are multiple branches in the GitHub. One is the production branch, which will be used only by the clients, which will be the code over there. The automation code would be freezed there. It would be code freeze would be there. You will not be making any changes to that code because client can run from that branch anytime. That branch is integrated with the Jenkins pipeline and they can select that option and they can run the scripts as per their convenience. So you will not be touching that branch. All your team members and you yourself would be working in this particular individual branch and that would be checked out from the development branch. Okay, so you will be working on your branch. So let's say your branch name is let's take QA1 itself and I am working on this branch, it is QA2. Okay, now this branch is working here. Now what happens next is you will be writing the code in this. So once your coding is done, then you will be doing unit testing. That is, you'll be running the code and you'll be verifying whether everything is working there or not. In some companies, they also do integrate it with the DevOps itself, right? And then they'll test whether it is working fine or not, right? So that will happen. Then what would happen is you will generate a pull request. What is a pull request? That is the changes that you have done. And this will be given for review to the leads or to the managers. This will be assigned for the review process. So pull request created, review process done. Once everything looks good, then what you will do is you will merge. What you will do is you will push your code to the development branch. Okay. So that's how the entire process is there. And there are few important terminologies that you need to understand here. So let me share that screen as well with respect to Git. Yeah. So see, with respect to Git, you have all these things: master, trunk, branch. So this is the primary branch serving as a project source, right? This is the master branch. Feature
Yeah.
branches, in which individual branches, when the automation testers are working individually on these kind of branches. Merging thing, if you want to integrate changes from one branch to another branch. Conflict resolution, if you want to resolve the changes that are happening. Now let's say we both were working on one of the features of payment itself, but different options, so we might get some conflicts there, right? So that is there. Then importance of branching is there. So what is the importance of branching? That also they might ask you. So it is code isolation, collaborative development, right? These things are there.
Okay.
So that's how you will be working, right? Okay. Now tell me, what do you know about window handles?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Actually, when we are automating a web application and multiple windows are uh, are being opened by that automation script,
Hmm.
then we should be able to track like the number of windows or the
Hmm.
elements within the those windows actually. So in order to track those windows, we use window handling.
Mm-hmm. Correct, correct. Okay. So window handles is done. Okay. What do you know about parallel testing?
Yeah, parallel testing actually, when we want to execute the automation framework on like like parallelly using multiple test classes or methods or the classes or methods, and with respect to we define the thread count there.
Hmm.
Based on the thread count, the parallel execution happens uh, simultaneously with respect to
Hmm.
classes or methods.
Right, right. Okay. So thread count you are using.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any other mechanism how to go for parallel testing?
We can also go for Selenium grid where we
Perfect. Perfect.
yeah,
Yes, yes. Selenium grid is also one of the good option,
yeah,
right?
where we configure like the testing to be happen on multiple machines parallelly
Hmm.
using the multiple browser.
Correct. Right, right. That is also possible. Okay. Fine. Now, mm, yeah. So now let me share my screen. I am giving you one scenario for automation. How will you handle this using Selenium with Java that you have to tell. So let's consider this kind of an application. Let me share my screen. Okay, fine. So now let me share my screen. So you have a Facebook application for automation. What is your use cases? You have to get the latest post or news feed that is there in the home page that is coming using Selenium with Java. So you have opened this Facebook application in a web browser,
Mm.
right? Let's take an example of a Chrome itself, and you have to get the latest post there or the news you can tell. So what would be your approach?
First we launched the application using driver.get.
Yes,
Uh,
correct. Then,
yeah. And if required, we implement the implicit wait because
mm,
we should give some time for the application to uh, launch properly.
okay.
And
So what you will do there if you want to handle that thing that the application should launch by that time. So what you will do in Selenium?
Uh, we use implicit wait actually. Driver, yeah, driver dot
Yes,
uh,
yes,
window
you'll
dot ma
use
uh,
correct,
driver
correct.
dot manage dot window uh,
Mm-hmm.
dot implicit wait of we give the certain amount of time for the web page to load. Like
Mm-hmm.
the
Then
time is
what will
the
you do?
yeah. And then we try to inspect the element where this post or the news is being displayed. Whether we check whether it is in a frame content or whether it is a part of a web page.
Hmm.
Uh, so uh, if these posts are mentioned like designed as a part of frames, then we can use the frames concept and we try to switch to the frame and get the X path or we try to inspect the elements of the post and news which is where it is being posted. Uh,
Hmm. Hmm.
so once we inspect the this news and post element,
Hmm.
then we try to get the information using the driver dot find element and like we can use the get text method
Hmm.
uh, to get the text that is being displayed as a news
Correct, correct.
and
You can use get text method, but before
and we
that,
display we
yeah.
display it on using the this system dot out dot println.
Right, right. That you will do. Okay. Now tell me if you have to scroll on the Facebook page. So at the top, it would be like you can create a post, you can upload those images. Those kind of options would be there. But you have to scroll down. So how will you handle that?
Actually here we can for certain elements where web like the Selenium WebDriver is not supporting,
Hmm.
there we go for like some of the interfaces. Like here in Selenium, JavaScript executor supports few of the um, scenarios where Selenium WebDriver is not able to do. So here to do the scroll into view or scroll down, we go for the JavaScript executor and we create an instance of JavaScript executor and we try to find the element and where we have certain methods in the JavaScript executor also. Like with respect to this scenario, we can use scroll into view, and we pass that method to the JavaScript executor, and
Mm-hmm.
we try to scroll the window to the bottom of the page where it is required.
Correct, correct. Yes, yes. So that thing more important. So you can see you'll first get that element, but let's say if you have to scroll as well, right? Let me put this above. Yeah. So you'll try to get that latest post, and if you have to scroll, then you'll be using for Java, you'll be going for JavaScript executor scroll by method. That is one of the option. Hmm? So that is available. Now you mentioned about weights, that was done. Hmm. Okay. Now consider the scenario where you have automated this script and it is running fine. So you executed the script on Monday, on Tuesday, Wednesday, it was running absolutely fine. But when you integrate it with the DevOps, when you integrate it with Jenkins, you are trying to trigger it via Jenkins, then the script is not running. So what can be the issues behind it? And how will you troubleshoot?
Okay.
So you're getting the point. Let's say you are running from your local machine. It is running every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, today is Thursday, it ran. But when you are doing this integration with DevOps, then it is not running. So what can be the reason behind it?
Yeah. Actually, we try to look into the issue, like where exactly the functionality is not functioning properly as per expected results. And
Hmm.
uh, we try to do a root cause analysis of the issue,
Hmm.
and we also check the test environments where the script was or the functionality was run previously,
Hmm.
and we see whether this issue is related to any browser compatibility issue
Hmm.
or any environmental issue. Um, and based on that, if it is worked fine in the previous environments and it is not related to the browser or any browser issues, then um, we check with the development team, uh,
Hmm.
and we do an analysis of how why the issue is being triggered in the uh, uh, like the Jenkins or the DevOps point of time.
Hmm.
Uh, if we get any resolution, then we present it to the client about the issue that is being triggered. If not, we we go with a meeting and we try to discuss on it and try to find out the root cause analysis and
Hmm.
come up with a solution for that.
Okay. Okay. See, whenever the failure is happening, now here the failure is happening in the Jenkins, but there is no code change made by the development team. Hence, the script is running fine. So here it will be important to identify who the actual culprit is, right? It can be Jenkins, it can be the script as well. So the very first thing when you get this question, you have to answer is you will be seeing the Jenkins console output. So Jenkins has got a console in which all the logs would be generated as per date time. So let's say with respect to 2 o'clock, 2:15, what all actions are happening. So those things will be generated. So you'll be checking that console logs. Okay. And then you will be it will be helping you to identify what kind of errors you are getting. So one of the example can be the browser which you are using in the DevOps machine is different from what you are using in your local machine. Then the issue might happen. The second thing can be that the Jenkins server or the DevOps server might be a bit slow compared to your local machine or vice versa as well. If there is a slowness in the environment or if there is an issue with the network latency that the scripts are taking some more time to run, then what you will have to do, you'll have to increase your soft delays there. So for example, you are keeping 5 seconds, for example, here you will be keeping 10 seconds there, right? If you are finding these kind of network issues in the Jenkins, right? That's also one of the possibility. Okay. Then second thing is, are you running in the headless mode or not? So using Jenkins, it is possible to run the scripts in an headless mode. When I say headless mode, that means it doesn't needs any UI. It doesn't needs any this kind of an GUI to run, right? So that also you have to check whether your Selenium scripts are compatible to run in the headless mode or not, right? So that is one of the example. Then you can also check the Jenkins job configuration. So is the Maven or the environment variables which you are using are same as that of your local machine or are those different, right? Then also those failures can happen. One more important point, the Jenkins might be running some agents, right? So Jenkins is connected to the agent. So there is a concept of master slave in Jenkins. So if those agents are disconnected, then your automation scripts will not run itself, right? They'll fail. So it might happen after 1 hour, those agents are getting turned off or those agents are getting not running, are not in the running mode. Then also your scripts might fail, right? So these are the various reasons why your scripts might run in the local machine, but they might not run on the Jenkins server. So this is how you will troubleshoot the root cause things. You'll figure out. Okay, great. Now let's go to the next question. So you were telling about Apache POI.
Yeah.
Hmm. So let's say you have to automate some application and you have to take the values from an Excel file. Now
Okay.
you have to take some hyperlinks from the Excel file. So how will you automate this particular scenario in which you will take the second hyperlink? So let me share my screen. Shoot. Yeah. So there is an Excel sheet having multiple hyperlinks, and you have to click on the second one, get its value, or you can say retrieve the value of the second one, and then apply into the application or the window where it needs to be applied. So how will you handle this via automation? So it's an integration of an Excel file with the Selenium.
Yeah.
Hmm.
In this scenario, we have a, Apache Poi Excel that supports the Excel sheets and its methods. Initially, we create an uh, uh, Excel sheet using the file input stream, and using a new file, we create a Excel sheet actually, and into that Excel sheet we create a workbook using
Mm-hmm.
the XSF workbook, and we pass the file that we have created into this as a reference to this XSS workbook. And after creating the workbook, the next step would be the XSF sheet, where we need a reference of the cells and rows. So when we create a sheet, uh, we give the reference of the first sheet in the Excel. Uh, like we create XSF sheet and the sheet name, and we give the workbook as a reference, and we get the sheet with the index. And then we try the next level of tracing is goes for the rows and columns, where we have to fetch the data. So initially we try to uh, keep track of the rows using the for loops actually, where we get the rows from the sheet, where like I go with the for each loop, where uh, for each loop as a for of row with the
Mm-hmm.
sheet.
Okay. So
And
this you are telling with respect to row. Those hyperlinks are there in
yeah,
the row. What if
yeah,
those are in the column? Then you'll
then
traverse
we
with
can go
respect to,
for
yeah,
the cell, tracing the cells actually, uh,
correct.
where then also we can use a for each loop, and we do it as a for of cell, and we take the reference of the row,
Mm-hmm.
and to get the particular link, uh, we use the like we use the reference of cell, and we use a method like cell dot get the string cell value, and we can pass the index where this particular link is being provided.
Absolutely correct. Correct. So index is a key thing here. At which particular index that second is there. So you'll identify that index and then you'll fetch that value. After applying for loop, you have to go for the if condition. If first of all the value is present at the second index or not. If it is not present, then you cannot do anything. You will write in the you'll use log4j and you'll write by automation that the value itself is not present. If it is present, then you will get that value, you'll fetch that value, and then you will apply it to the next stage. Great, great. Okay, Swapna, I am done with the interview. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, I just want to know my areas of improvement.